Okay, welcome back to Takabola Gaming. My name is Takabola. We're going to continue our tutorial playthrough in EU4, and we're playing as Castile. And we have just won a war against Granada. We took all of that from Granada, and we also released Algiers. And I'm going to unpause. We have our troops going back home, and they should be hanging out in the south, if I remember correctly. We assigned these guys to these light ships to go on protecting trade. You do want to only do light ships, if at all possible, with protecting trade. But they are going to wait to do that until everyone is repaired. So that's what they're waiting on in port. And then we are losing money. Let's go ahead and check and see why we're losing money. We have high army maintenance, 1.37 from reinforcement there. Then we have state maintenance, and we are rooting out corruption for 2.23. So not ideal. State maintenance has a lot of state, but it doesn't appear that I have any edicts. I highly doubt that I said to do any edicts, because that's not something you need to worry about. Alright, so let's talk technology. You get technology as you grow, which we're not growing very fast because our ruler is 112. You get power here, and I think I already talked about this, but you get your power here from your ruler traits, your government rank, which right now we are kingdom, and then your advisors, the number over here. And all that added up, and if you happen to get 50 power protection, you get one each there, but I'm not going to have you worry about getting up in power protection, so that's just a if it happens to happen. But you add all that up, and then the focuses, but you add all that up and you wind up with your total monthly increase. So we have 6, 5, and 6 for us in these power spots. And you can see that the base value is 3. That's our kingdom. Gives us that. It doesn't say on here, but that's where that base value comes from. There are places that are dukes. This is a duchy. I believe that only gives 2. There are counties. Let's see if we can get county. I suspect that county will only give you 1. Now, I don't know for sure, but I suspect that a county would only give you 1. A duchy will give you 2. A kingdom, like we are, gives you 3. And then there are places that are empires. Grand Prince Ottomans are an empire. That will give you 4. You can increase your government rate. That might be a DLC thing. For kingdom to upgrade to an empire, you need 1,000. I think you need 300 to upgrade from a duchy to a kingdom. But really, the only dukes that exist are these vassals and the HRE. And you cannot increase from the duke on anyone inside the HRE unless you are an elector. But the HRE is another tutorial for another time. Alright, so I'm going to combine, going to get rid of the mercs, and I'm going to combine the 2 guys there. No. I want you to attach to that, and then you're also... I want you to attach to them as well, just so we have that one large army of 25,000. And we're going to enable autonomous rebel suppression. I'm unsure if that's just for the state or if it's for anywhere. If you have a DLC, you can expand it out. It doesn't appear yet to be actually impacting them. So yeah, this is the state. And so it's not lowering unrest, but I suspect that it will... do good things later. But anyway, technology. So you get your monthly increase of your power. So we have our base 3 from the kingdom, 1 from our monarch, King Juan II, and then 2 from our person here. Right now I told you to basically have no focus, and that will continue until 20 years have passed by, so it's 1464 for us. And that means that it doesn't change it at all. You can have a focus. If I had focused on military or focused on diplomacy or focused on admin, then the one you're focused on would gain 2 in addition to all of the other stuff, and the other 2 would lose 1. So you're basically transferring power with the focus. I wanted to keep it somewhat balanced, so that's what we have there. You use your monarch power for a lot of things. We used it to core. We used administrative power to core the 4 provinces here. You can use your diplomatic power over here to reduce war exhaustion. You can use administrative power to boost stability. So you can do a lot of things with that. If I wanted to with the rebels, I could use military power to harsh treat the rebels once they get to 30 and knock them down 30%. If I didn't want to fight them with my troops, I am not going to have a problem fighting with my troops, but if I didn't want to do that, we could do that. Harsh treatment, we can use that. And also you can develop. So that's this button here. You can spend a certain amount of power. It's based on a whole bunch of calculations. You can hover over here to see those calculations. I can spend that power to increase the development of a province with one thing. Worth noting, La Mancha here is a gold province. You want to eventually get your diplomatic power in La Mancha to be 10. You cannot have more than 50% of your power in any one thing. So right now, I could develop this up to 6, but I could not develop it to 7 because I would have to get admin plus military to equal at least 7 before I could click that one to get to 7. We'll probably develop La Mancha at some point. We'll cover that more in depth then. But with this bad of a king, I don't want to go developing anything. I want to save my power, especially in the beginning of the game for technology. Technology is extremely important, especially military technology is extremely, extremely important. The cost for that is a base of 600, and then there's a whole bunch of modifiers. One of the modifiers that you can get is a minus 5% bonus here that is from being around a neighbor. So one of the other nations in my region, in my tech group, I don't know what it is, but one of the other nations around me has gotten military technology 4. So I get it 5% off. So instead of 600, it's going to cost me 570. I think would be the thing. So 570. And then institutions increase the technology until you embrace the institution. So right now it's subtracted by 5, but then raised by 1. So it's subtracted by 4% off of 600, which is 574 power. I have 583, so I can get this technology right now. Typically speaking, you want to wait until it is on time, so to speak. There are certain years during the game where they want you to take that technology. If you try and take it beforehand, it costs 10% more power for every year that you're before that year to take that particular technology. So if I were trying to take military technology 6, let's say, it would cost a lot more than 600. In fact, I probably wouldn't be able to keep as much power needed to do so. By the way, power, you can only keep 999 power saved plus whatever the institution penalty is. So right now, I can keep 999 plus 1% of 999, or 9, which is where that 1008 comes from. So after that, it caps out, and you lose your monthly increase to the void. So you don't want to have it capped out. You want to be spending your power as it comes along throughout the game. military technology, like I said, is extremely important to keep up on time because it really is what impacts the most of deciding who wins battles or not. You can see here tactics is really, really important, and the only way you can get tactics is through technology. You get it at level 4, level 6, level 7, level 9, level 12, etc., etc. You can see there on the tooltip. Morale is also improved by some technologies, but you can improve morale through ideas or advisors. And also combat width gets improved, and the combat width is decided by whoever has the most. So, those technologies where things like tactics improve, things like combat width improve, those are really, really important military technologies, and a lot of them, especially early on, do impact things like that. So you want to take military technology, you want to be up to date on that. Diplomatic and administrative is not as important. Diplomatic technology deals with your ships, and we'll deal with ships whenever that comes about. And then administrative technology will deal with things like states, your governing capacity, ideas, and the ability to have production, so trade and stuff like that. But you want to be within 2 for admin and diplomatic, but you don't have to stay on time. It's good to be on time. You don't have to stay on time. If you're ahead of time, so if this number is red, so let's go ahead and take military technology and hopefully they'll show you. Okay, so if the number is red, we're on time. If you're ahead of time, which is what that is, we're ahead of time 20 years, 2 years. Then if you're ahead of time on diplomatic and administrative, you actually get corruption bonuses of 0.10 decreased for every one of them. So if I was ahead of time at military or at technology level 4 for Diplo and administrative right now, I actually wouldn't be having to pay a cent to root out my corruption. Since I'm not, I do have that. But if you're 2 or more fewer, or more than 2 fewer behind your highest technology on any of them, you start to get plus 0.1 corruption for every technology you're behind. So if my military technology was 6 and I still had level 3 Diplo and administrative technology, I would get minus 0.2 or plus 0.2 corruption would start going up by that much, and I would have to pay money to decrease it. If I had military tech 7 and still was at 3 and 3, now I would be 4 behind, and I would actually have plus 0.2 for both. So I'd have a plus 0.4 in corruption. So you really want to stay within 2, which means that whenever I next take military technology, I want to make sure, it won't matter here, but I want to make sure that before I can take military tech 6, I definitely have done these. That's the basic gist for those. Let's talk also about institutions. So these are all the institutions. Most nations begin with feudalism. Not all, but most nations begin with feudalism. So Fazan here did not. Togurt and stuff did not begin with feudalism. And so that has to spread. But most of them begin with feudalism. After that, you have Renaissance, and that is in 1450. That will spawn somewhere in Italy, and then we'll begin to expand out. We actually have Renaissance present here. If you go to a province, you can open and close the institutions, and then you can hover over this and see why. So every province in Europe with 10 development or more goes up by 0.04, and then I have a spread modifier right now, probably as a papal bull. Oh, nope, they didn't do the papal bull for that's a DLC. If you have the Emperor patch, then that would increase the papal bull stuff there. I'm going to go ahead and spend 5 of my papal influence to get a chance in the lottery to be the next papal controller. And so we can talk about that if that happens. So we have, if I go down here to institutions, it's one of the map modes that I like to have on hand. You can see that I have several provinces that have a little bit of spread. If it winds up that a nearby friendly province has developed the Renaissance in it. So that number gets all the way to 100 and it becomes embraced in that province. Then it would go, 0.5 every month. If right next to it would be, even more. If I got up to 20 development, that would be even more. So you can kind of see where things are. It will spread quick. Renaissance spreads pretty quickly in Europe. But you'll notice over here in Africa, nothing. Right? And so, by the way, Europe does extend like to this roughly here. You can kind of see where Europe ends there. So Africa doesn't have that. So it has to wait. If you're playing in West Africa, if you're playing in India or something like that, you probably want to what's called develop the institutions. It costs about 2,000 power total. But if I click this button to develop, you'll notice that one of the things it does there at the bottom of the top, it says Renaissance plus 2.50. And so if I found the largest, found something larger, do I have anything that's really large in development? 16. That would be plus 2.83. So the higher your development, the more it costs to develop one, but you also the more you get institution. So it roughly costs about 2,000 development to bring the institution from 0 to full, and then it will start to spread because of the adjacent friendly province thing. If you want to develop, in, I think it's grasslands. No, in farmlands. Do I have any farmlands? I don't think I do. That's intriguing. So you want to develop in farmlands if you were to develop in farmlands because that does decrease the cost. But I don't have any. That's interesting. So it's important to know your terrain and what terrain you have and what it does, because that does impact random things. But since you're playing in Europe, one of the reasons I suggested playing Castile or the Ottomans instead of, say, Ming, who is the biggest country, is because most of the institutions actually do spawn in and around Europe, or they are late enough that you don't have to worry about them too much. So the Renaissance is in 1450, and then colonialism is in 1500, and we will try our hardest to spawn that one. I'll tell you a little bit about how to try and make that appear in your lands, and so it'll spread even quicker, because you'll notice that the province that it begins in, it's going to be really far. They've already embraced it. So you want it to be in your province, if at all possible. But colonialism is there. Printing pest spawns in a Protestant province, which I probably won't be converting to Protestant, but that's one thing you could do, is you could convert to Protestant and have a chance of spawning that one as well. Global trade spawns in the highest valued trade node in the world, which we probably won't be. It'll probably be Genoa over here or the English Channel, but it should spawn in somewhere over here in Europe and go quickly. Manufactories can spawn anywhere in the world with a manufactory. That's a building we'll talk about in a way later episode. Maybe we might not get to it, but that's just one of the buildings. Building menu building. That's this one here. Manufacturing costs a lot of money. Worth it if it gives you plus 0.4 or more is generally my rule of thumb. But it'll spawn somewhere there, and then it will spread in anything that has a manufacturing. Enlightenment will spawn in potentially anything that has a university or a seat in Parliament. Parliament's mostly an England thing, although you can get a government reform for it. It's mostly an England thing. But you build a library, and then it will spread at anything with a library. And then industrialization is the newest one. They're basically every 50 years. And so I don't know where this one spawns. Has to be development of at least 30 and have a weapons or textile manufacturing. And we have to be the leading producer of iron or cloth, or have 3 trade bonuses. or have the highest trade node value in the world after 10 years of not spawning it. So if you get to 1750, congratulations, and you can figure that one out. My guess would be that you have to have a weapons manufactory or a textile manufactory to spread it in your province. It's also possible, perhaps, that a furnace would do so if you have that DLC, which I think is Rule Britannia. But right now, we're trying to get Renaissance. Renaissance will spread relatively quickly. It'll get over here. You see these are already like 88, and then it will get down here, and then it might spread to Aragon and come on over. Once it's fully embraced in at least 10% of your development, you can pay gold to get the rest of it. And so a high amount of gold, and then as it continues to spread in your country, that cost to embrace it will go down. But every year it's not embraced, your institution tech penalty goes up by 1. So it's kind of that balancing act of when do I maybe take debt? When do I maybe take loans? Maybe I take corruption, something like that, to get money to embrace that institution, or do I just wait for things where they are? But that's the basic gist there. I don't want to deal with that. So anyway, we're going to try and do that. As Castile, you want to stay up to date in military technology for sure, and you want, as much as you can, to avoid taking some land, because you would like to get Administrative Tech 5 as quickly as possible, get that idea group, and take your first idea should be exploration. So that's what we're trying to really go for. And honestly, it's not a terrible idea to not take Diplotech. Wait and take, administrative technology, get that up to 5, and so have a bunch of Diplo power so you can take those first few ideas and get started. Maybe take Diplotech 4 just so you don't have that corruption penalty from unbalanced research. With that, I haven't really gone very far in the game, but let's go ahead and talk about what I'm wanting to do. I want my cores to finish. I don't know why my cores... Oh, they're up at the top. I want these cores to finish and regain some manpower, since I have lost a lot of manpower there. There are disloyal estates in my country. The burghers are disloyal. That's fine. You see the clergy and nobility are there. I'm going to go ahead and summon the Diet. And let's see what we can do here. That will make the burghers be loyal, and that actually increases my trade a little bit. So I know that I cannot get manpower to 75%. I would be going no wars, no rebels, no nothing. That's not something I want to do. So I now would be looking at, do I want to spend admin or diplo? Do I want to develop with diplomatic or with admin? Because base tax would be developing with admin, and base production is developing with diplomatic power. And I think that diplomatic power is much less valuable to me in terms of technology than administrative power. Also, if you'll notice that upon completion, clergy gain 10 loyalty and I get 10 prestige, which actually would be beneficial to me right now. But here I get 84 ducats, and money is a very nice thing to have. So we're going to go ahead and click that, and then they wanted it in Mercia. So let's find Mercia. We hit F key, M-E-R-C, what was it? We can hover over this and it'll do the M-U-R. And it should be down here. It is. And so we're just going to click that button twice. And boom. We gain 84 ducats. And we get 10 loyalty. We can become Defender of the Faith. If you have nothing better to spend your money on, this is good. If you have the Emperor DLC, that one penalty to being Defender of the Faith goes away. That technology cost penalty. That technology cost penalty is big, and to me it offsets, especially early on in the game, it offsets the benefits of the morale of armies and morale of navies, which is the big benefit of being Defender of the Faith. So I'm not going to actually do that. I would rather wait, and I'm going to spend my money on churches when I get Administrative Tech level 4. The last thing to talk about on technology is that they go up fast in the early game. So you can see that we're 2 years away. So 1453, we're already on our second technology that should be going. They go up fast in the early game. In the later game, there's often 15 to 16 years between when you're supposed to take technology and when you're supposed to take the next technology. So that's when you really can start to catch up. You can start to develop. You can start to, do some more things that way. Early game, you want to take technology pretty quickly and focus on taking technology if you can, because that's really, really important. To get that technology very fast. So my goal, once I have cored this and the rebels are relatively under control, is I'm going to attack Portugal. Portugal still only has England as an ally. So ideally, I would find a time to attack Portugal when England is distracted. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to left click on a province. And I'm going to right click on this flag. And I'm going to make sure that they are a country of special interest. They are already marked that way. If you go over here, you can see a nation that's is not lighted up. That way, if they go to war, I will be told about it. As far as if England goes to war, I'll be told about it. And then I can know, okay, is England in a position where they might not actually defend Portugal? If I can attack Portugal without England, that would be very, very good. Otherwise, I'm going to try and attack Portugal, maybe trying to bring in my allies, or we're going to wait around and we'll attack Tlemcen when the truce ends in 1456 and try and get Algiers provinces back and maybe try and take as much of them as we can. So here is another situation where administrative power is more important to me than Diplo power. Because right now, if I can get that tech level, I can get a church. That's more money for me. A local tax modifier of 40%. That's really, really important. Marketplace is also more money, which would be Diplo power 4. But I think I want that more. So we're going to lose the Diplo power. I don't want to lose either, but we're going to lose the Diplo power, and we're going to keep going. So yeah, as Algiers here, they have cores. If you go to the diplomatic menu and click on any nation, you can see what they have for claims and cores. Green is cores, yellow is claims. And they have cores here. We're going to definitely try and take that land back. And if we can, feed all that and make it a vassal instead of, or a march in this case, instead of an ally, then we can call them in whenever we go to war. They'll be automatically called in. They can't even say no, which would be a lot better than our current situation. So now we have made those cores. We are no longer rooting out corruption nearly as much. And so that means that we are making money again. The last thing I want to do in this episode is that I can make this a state. So right now the local autonomy is 90%, which means I'm only getting 90% of what I could be getting, or 10% of what I could be getting in taxes, production, and manpower down here. And the rest of it is going to a local noble. They're locally autonomous. In a territory, if you don't have expansion ideas, which we will take second, in a territory, that's at 90% and it cannot go any lower. In a state, it can go down to 0. In fact, in most of our states, it is 0. For what it's worth, government reform, the more autonomous your land is, the less you get that, but don't worry about that. Just whenever it shows up in a flag, deal with it. I am going to go ahead and state this territory. Now, the autonomy is still at 90%, and I think that even though I have clicked the state button up here, and it is a state, I have not cored it to the state level. Right now it is a territorial core. I have to spend more admin to make it a state core, and then the autonomy will slowly tick down in those places. So that's, again, more admin. So again, we're not going to be getting that technology. I'm half inclined to wait, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and do that and get money in this situation. It will be okay. So we're going to core all of those territories. Now they are states. I don't think that matters for unrest, but having them as states will slowly decrease the autonomy. Currently 0.125 every month it will go down, and that means we'll start to get more of the taxes that we could be getting, and more of the production, and more of the manpower that we could be getting. So that's it for this episode. I hope you are learning a bunch. And so after that, we'll go ahead and click on pause in the next episode and probably speed up until we are ready to attack, until I feel comfortable, which will likely be 4,000 to 5,000 more manpower. I'm trying to go as easy as I can. Well, maybe not. But we'll come back next time and we'll talk about that. I've been TBARW Gaming. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. And check out the playlist to the right and whatever video YouTube tells you on the left. I'll be back.